Pro boxing fans, we are here in Riyadh. It is fight week. With me, I've got the scientists, as Andy Lee referred to you as a scientist, George Lockhart, who's the nutritionist and everything else, to Joseph Parker and many other great fighters in the past and present. First of all, how are you? How's things?
I'm loving life. We have a pretty good track record here in Saudi. We always have a great time, so we're just enjoying the ride and getting ready for the fight on Saturday.
When I talk about Joseph Parker's resurgence, Andy Lee's name gets mentioned, but also your name gets mentioned as a big vital part of what's going on in his life right now in his career. I watched the podcast with Joe Parker, and he said, listen, there was times where I was traveling so much to New Zealand and back, and I wasn't eating right, I wasn't sleeping right, I wasn't doing nothing right. I was maybe training for 3 weeks for a fight. How much more stable is Joseph Parker at this time with yourself and Andy Lee?
He's a completely different fighter. You know, it's you don't know what you don't know. When I first started working with Joe, I was shocked. I was like, how are you a world champion? Like, how have you won the world title? It was a compliment that I hope that he took. Like, man, you're this good without this base. We've been working on the base, and now everything is so regimented to the sleep, what time he wakes up, what time he eats, how much water he drinks. So like I said, to answer your question, completely different fighter as it shows in the ring.
How important is it that these fighters at the top have a good person, a nutritionist, a good team behind them to make sure that they're fueled right? Because, like I said, Joe was saying there were some fights I wasn't even sleeping correctly, and I was, sparring and I was doing stuff. So how important is it that we have people like yourselves in teams for elite fighters?
If I don't know what kind of car. Let's say you're a car person. Right? If I give you your favorite car, let's say you're a Lambo guy, and I give you a Lamborghini, right? You don't drive that car very often. Let's say you maybe drive it an hour a day, 2 hours a day, but you wouldn't put trash fuel in your car. But for some reason, these guys, they use their bodies, and that's how they make their money. They're living, and they think that subpar fuel is going to be okay with them. Like I said, you don't know what you don't know. They started eating right. Joe started eating right, and he's like, wow. And the one thing that we do is we have tangibles. Tangible being, okay, how fast could you run a mile? Now, we do it again. Did you run faster? So are we in better shape? You know what I'm saying? And having those tangibles, he's shown that, man, if I eat correctly, I recover faster, my performance goes up. So many, I mean, I could, obviously I could talk about this forever. I love it. But yeah, it's huge. I think it's underrated, and I hope, and I'm not just not a selling point for me, but I hope that more boxers actually start going after and going at people that are looking out for them, because you got to concentrate on boxing. You're not going to become a nutritionist or a sports dietitian or anything like that.
Daniel Dubois is the man in his way to becoming a two-time world champion for Joseph Parker. What's the right method for yourself to make sure that we know Daniel's a strong fighter, comes on quick from the start, that Joe's ready from round on as soon as our bell rings?
Yeah, I have a different methodology. When I was fighting, a lot of people ask, okay, how can I beat this guy? If you've never faced somebody before, you can't tell how powerful, how fast, the movement is when you're not in the ring with them. But the one thing that you can ask yourself is, how can this guy beat me? And, if your cardio is not in point, if your, mobility and so on and so forth, these things aren't on the issues. That's the purpose of fight camp. We cut those out. We're like, okay, can he beat me with cardio? Let's work on cardio. We check those things off. And I think a lot of people, when they fought, when Joe fought Deontay Wilder, they're like, stay away from the right, stay away from the right. If I tell you don't look at the ground, you're going to want to look at the ground. So it's like, stay away from the right, stay away. You concentrate on what other people are doing. We concentrate on what we're supposed to do, become the best version of ourselves. And then when we go in there, just let the cards fall as they are,
Talk to me about a few of the fighters that you worked with, and just reel off some of their names, because it's a big list, and I want you to be doing that.
I've worked obviously with Tyson Fury, Badu, Jack. I've had the opportunity. I had my head chef James Lockwood was working with Triple G. I got to work with Triple G for a camp, for a cut. Frankie Edgar, John Jones, Holly Holmes, a lot of MMA people. You put me on the spot, but yeah, I've worked with more world champions than anybody in history. It's like it's not a boast. It's a blessing. I've been lucky, and love what I do. And like I said, I was a fighter. I wanted to be a world champion. Now I get to do it over and over again through other people, and not get hit in the face.
Just the final one. Which fighter were you part of the team with, where you thought, you know what, this guy's fantastic, ultimate professional, don't have to do too much, but just tweak it, first of all? Which fighter was that?
So you say the fighter that has to do the least amount of work? Ooh, Triple G. Well, like I said, James Lockwood. He had him on point, stuff like that. But the guy is he was so obviously with his fight career, you can see so locked in. And the thing is when you're that high, there's only small things that you can tweak. You know what I'm saying? And I'd say the least amount would have been him. The guy's always on point.
I'm sure they don't mind you saying, but who's the most that you had to work on?
The hardest that I had to work on? The most change? Joe, bro. Like, he's my brother. Like, he's my best friend in the world. When I first started working, the first time we went to the gym, I thought he was messing with me because, he's always joking, and he was lifting weights that I'm like, and then I'm like, oh my God, he's being serious. Like, this is all the way he can lift. He's a heavyweight. So we've had that huge transition. Like, now we have to go to special gyms that have specific weights that he can lift. He's a freaking animal. Biggest transition has been Joseph Parker.
George, I do actually need a prediction from yourself for the main event before I let you go. Yeah. Dimitri Bivol, Artur Beterbiev. What's a fight first time around? But give me your thoughts on the rematch on Saturday night. What happens?
Man, it's crazy because when you look at time periods, it's like, what if Muhammad Ali fought so-and-so? You know what I'm saying? I think time periods, it's like you have great fighters that are born in different time periods. I think we're blessed to have two of the greatest ever in the same time period. We get to see them going at it. What do I think for the fight, man? I don't have a clue. I will tell you that Beterbiev, I have so much respect for him because lower weight classes, age it's a huge disadvantage because speed's the first thing to go, and it's so important. I look at his biomechanics, his footwork, his movement, his core, his training methodology. That guy is on freaking point. He's a powerhouse. You see why he's knocked out so many people. Bivol, same thing. He doesn't. It's completely different methodology, stuff like that, but you see the way his heart, his movement, like speed, tenacity, and just seeing those two collide, I'm super excited for Saturday.
Actually, Artur Beterbiev, I'm not sure if you've been on Instagram much, but every day they're posting a new reel of him training, and he looks like an animal. When he trains, he looks like a beast of a trainer. When you look at his reels, obviously you do the same thing, you're at SSC, you deal with all of this. When you look at him, do you feel that he's elite at what he does? Artur Beterbiev?
Yes. I honestly, I think he's the best. His methodology and training, like, there's so many different things I won't get into them, but like connectivity with the punch all the way from the bottom of your foot, like that's what makes Deontay Wilder so powerful. He's not a strong guy, but his connectivity from the bottom of his foot to the end of that punch is what creates that power, right? Beterbiev, literally, like, he works on that. I'm not ashamed of this. I watch his things so I can get new things to do with Joe, and there's things that I've implemented with Joe because I've watched his videos. But so if you ask, I think the guy's top notch. Do I think he's elite? Absolutely. I think his training's on a whole nother level. But like I said, I'm excited to see Saturday how it turns out.
The power of social media, eh? Listen, George, it's a pleasure. The scientist, as Andy Lee called you, listen, S&C nutritionist, the man to get the fighters fueled up. George Lockhart, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, sir. It's always good seeing you. I love the energy. And I'll see you this week, man.
Thank you so much for this. I appreciate you, bro.